It has not been an ideal month for Kirby Smart and Cortez Hankton on the recruiting trail for the Bulldogs in this 2022 class, but they got some big news today. Three-star Dillon Bell, big-time wide receiver out of Houston, Texas, has committed to Georgia today, giving them their second wide receiver commitment in this 22 class. This is a guy who a lot of people did not know about or hear much last fall and into last spring, but as he was able to take visits this summer, he had a monster month of June. Worked out for the Georgia Bulldogs. I believe it was in mid-June. They offered him before he left campus. That should say everything you need to know about where he fits on Georgia's board and how much they like him and his potential. So 6'2", 200 pounds. He's got some size to him. He's not the biggest guy. He's not the fastest guy. He's probably not the most athletic guy either, but when you watch the film, even against private teams down in the Houston area, it's easy to see the potential that he has. He does run well for 6'2", 200. He's not a burner, but he runs pretty well. He's got some burst. He can help you in the screen game. He can help you deep down the field. There's a lot that he can do, and he showed that off in his film last year. And the more and more visits he took, the more he worked out for college coaches like Georgia, some at Auburn, Texas A&M. Schools started offering left and right. So he might be, a three-star guy right now, not necessarily a guy that Georgia usually takes as far as the ranking goes, but I do think he will rise in those Texas rankings sooner than later. But again, he has SEC size already, and you can see that from the tape, but he's got some good hands as well. He knows how to play the position. He still needs to develop a little bit like everyone does, especially coming from private school. He's going to learn how to run routes, develop overall, create separation on his own, and I think he has the capability to do that. And again, Georgia hasn't been able to land some of the top guys on their board. They're not going to land Evan Stewart, a five-star wide receiver from Texas. Kojo Antwi, big four-star receiver from Lambert High School, chose Ohio State over Georgia. And there's been other guys, too, that they have not been able to re-land, which is interesting considering that they only took two in last year's class, Adonai Mitchell, who we might see a good bit of this fall, and Jackson Meeks, a guy who we don't know when he's going to be able to play. So I know they took about 2 classes ago in 2022 last year. I'm looking for them to take at least 3, maybe 4, depending on the right guy. Right now, I just think it's 3. They've got one on board, Denylon Morissette, 4-star wide receiver from North Cobb High School. Another guy with size, 6'1.5", 6'2", probably about 190 pounds. Just a possession guy with good speed and burst and great hands, and the ability to contort his body and make the tough catch down the field is what stands out to me the most about Denylon. I think Dillon Bell is a similar type of guy. It's hard to say which one's bigger or faster. They're very similar type of players, but you got to get guys who can catch the ball, and both these guys show really strong hands. But in the end, Dillon chose Georgia over Michigan. I think he had an offer from Texas A&M, and I think he had one from Auburn and a few other schools, but it was down to Georgia and Michigan. Again, he took a visit to Georgia in mid-June. That's where he earned the offer and really wowed the Georgia staff from what I was told. All of that information, of course, is over on Dog Post, but he really impressed, and they said, you know what, not only is this a scholarship offer for you, but we're going to have a spot available for you if you want to jump on board anytime soon. He was in Athens this past weekend. The full list of those visitors, of course, is on Dog Post as well. Lots of big-time commitments, lots of targets were on campus, one of them being Dillon Bell. And he wasted no time committing to Georgia basically 2 days after his last visit to Georgia. So he's been in Athens about twice now in the last month and a half. Actually, less than that, less than a month actually, from mid-June and then a month and a half. Still a little early while I'm making this video, but again, he knows Athens. That's really the point. He feels comfortable there, and anyone who has the chance to pick Georgia over Michigan is going to do that now more than ever. So it feels like an easy decision for Dillon Bell. Georgia is probably the best program right now that offered him a scholarship, and he really didn't waste a whole lot of time. I believe he silently committed to the staff this past weekend on his visit, and then said, you know what, I'm going to make this public soon, and that was today. So Dillon Bell, 3-star wide receiver out of Houston, a guy with size, runs really well, and can hurt defenses in a number of different ways. Still developing, but there's a lot of potential, and it's clear to see that the staff saw that potential and was willing to get him on board. So he's number 2. Again, I think they're going to take one more wide receiver, and those targets are number 1, 5-star Luther Burden, Oklahoma commit. He's a guy who visited Georgia in June. Has always liked Georgia ever since they offered, and I believe it was December 2019 was when they first offered him, and Georgia's been towards the top of his list ever since. Wouldn't surprise me at all if he decided to open things up from his Oklahoma commitment right now, something that a lot of guys really don't do, but he's out there taking visits. And if you're taking visits, you're not 100% committed. He's definitely a guy to watch. Andre Green Jr., long, lanky, athletic wide receiver that you can put on the outside. He is from Virginia, I believe. I think that could come down to Georgia, North Carolina, and Clemson. Solid 4-star guy who can go up and snatch the football, can win in those one-on-one situations, who runs pretty well too for a guy who's like 6'4". So he passes the eye test on the outside. He's got a lot of potential too. I think Georgia is going to be a finalist for him. I do believe they're in that top 3, probably top 2 for him. I'm not sure when he decides to make or plans on making a commitment, but I think Georgia is going to be one of those finalists for him for sure. Cole Spear, kid who just earned an offer from Georgia this past weekend out of Calhoun High School. Big-time athlete, one of the best playmakers in all of North Georgia. Caught a lot of passes last year, made it look easy too. Solid 3-star guy right now that Georgia feels comfortable offering a position. Who knows, he might be another guy to keep an eye on sooner than later. He might pull the trigger and jump on board soon. Georgia's his biggest offer by a mile, and I know that was a big offer for him and his family. So those are just a few guys to know. Of course, there's a much more expanded, bigger list over on Dog Post about the wide receivers that you need to know for the rest of this 2022 class. But today is all about Dillon Bell, who jumped on board, giving Georgia their second wide receiver commitment. Pretty good one, and a much needed commitment at wide receiver as well. Guys, thanks for watching this video. As always, stay tuned to the next one coming up right now, and I will see you over on the website.